Okay, Isabel, for number 7 on the worksheet, let me pull up the screen. So number 7 here says, which equation is an equation of the line in the graph? So you know that your equation needs to be in the form y equals mx plus b. So if we look at this graph, can we figure out what the slope of that line is? Okay, yes, we can figure out the slope of the line. So what is the slope of that line? Yes, the slope is 1. So we know that m equals 1, okay? And then it's y equals mx plus b. Now, b is your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is where your line crosses the y-axis here, okay? So it crosses at that point right there. So your y-intercept is at 2. So you're going to plug that into your equation now. Y equals m, which is 1, x plus b, which is 2. So you'll have y equals x plus 2. You're welcome. Okay, Charlotte Ann, number 15 on the worksheet. You are supposed to write an equation of the line that passes through the given point P and has the given slope of m. So on this one, you have hold on. Okay. Sorry, when I flipped the Chromebook open, it added all kinds of stuff. Okay, so on this one, you have your m equals 2. 2. And your point is 3, 0. Okay? Now, let's try this equation that I showed you guys in class. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So when we do this, the y is going to stay there. This y1 is going to be your y value here. Okay, so y minus 0 equals m, which is 2, times x, that x stays, and then your x1 comes from here, so minus 3. And then you just solve this. So y minus 0 is just y. Here we have to distribute this in, okay? So 2 times x would be 2x, and 2 times negative 3 would be negative 6. So now you already have your equation in y equals mx plus b form. So that would be the equation of the line, y equals 2x minus 6. Now, the way that the book is showing you, they want you to say y equals mx plus b. So then they want you to say, okay, your y is 0 equals 2 times 3, plus b. So that would be 0 equals 6 plus b. And to get b by itself, we need to subtract 6 from both sides. So we'd get negative 6 equals b. And then go back and plug that in to y equals mx plus b, where your m is given to you as 2. And we know your b that we solved for here is negative 6. So that's how the book does it. This is the way that I was trying to show you guys a little bit yesterday. Does that help? Do you have questions about either one of those ways? They're both valid ways to solve the problem. This y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1, that's called point slope form. So when you have the point and the slope, then you can find the equation of the line. And that's something that you're going to see again in later math classes. So it's beneficial to you if you understand it now, but you will see it again later. Any of you guys have questions over that one? Okay, yeah, Charlotte and I agree. I think this first way is easier because it takes out that extra step of having to plug back in again. Okay, let's look at Megan. Oh, wait, hold on. Isabel. So if we do either one on the test, will they both be right? Yeah, because ultimately you're going to come up with the same answer. I tell you guys this, there's more than one way to solve a problem oftentimes. And for me, I don't mind if you solve it a different way than the way that we do it, as long as you are doing it properly and coming up with the right answer. Okay, so Megan, you have a question on 22 and 32. So for 22, let's see. It says, write an equation of the line that passes through the point P and is perpendicular to the line with the given equation. So on this one, let's see. You have your point negative 2, 6, and the equation of your line is y equals 2, right? So on this one, and you have to find that's perpendicular. So let's do this. If we graph y equals 2, that's going to be here, okay? And then if we need a perpendicular line that passes through the point -2, 6, okay? So then -2, 6 would be over here, -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that would be -2, 6 right there. So we need a perpendicular line that passes through that point, okay? So if we know that the one line, our first line, is horizontal, the new perpendicular line is going to be vertical, right? And it needs to pass through this point, which is at -2. So when we graph that, that is x equals -2, because at every point on this line, at every point here on this line, your x value is -2, okay? Does that make sense to see that visually, Megan? Okay. Sometimes graphing it out will help you with that. Okay, and then number 32. All right, so for 32, let me scroll down. My computer does not like me today. Okay, this is going to be as big as I can get it, I think. Maybe not. Hold on. Sorry, it started doing this thing where it zooms in on its own randomly. It's like it's got a mind of its own. So let me start again. Okay, try this again. No, it went away. Okay, so if we look at this problem, for a bowling league, the graph models the total cost of participating in a bowling league. Write an equation of the line and then explain the meaning of the slope and the y-intercept of the line. Okay, so to write an equation of the line, you need to know it's going to be in the form of y equals mx plus b, okay? And then you're going to need to know your slope and your y-intercept, okay? Now on this graph, you can calculate your slope, okay? You have your 2 points here, so your slope would be y2 minus y1, so 80 minus 30 over x2 minus x1, so 5 minus 0. So that would be 50 over 5, which equals 10 over 1, okay? So your slope is 10 over 1. And then your y-intercept is right here. This would be your y-axis. See, it's got it noted right there. So your y-intercept is at 30. So you're going to have y equals m, which is your slope of 10, x plus your y-intercept, b, which is 30, okay? So that would be your equation of your line. Now, to explain the meaning of the slope and the y-intercept, so for that, we have to kind of look at what the graph is showing us. It's showing us weeks down here and the cost here for a bowling league. So you're going to start here at 0 weeks, it costs you $30. So if you think about that, so think about the y-intercept there. If you haven't done anything and it's starting out with a cost like a constant number like that, where you've always got that 30 sitting there, that's going to be kind of like a registration fee or a startup fee. That's some kind of a constant that's involved with being in the bowling league. So that would be like a registration fee. And then for the slope, so as every week goes by, because your weeks go 1 week at a time down here on the bottom. So as each week goes by, it goes up by 10. So that would tell you that your slope is like your per week fee. So each week when you go to play, you have to pay $10. So you start out the bowling league, pay $30 to join, and then you pay $10 a week to play. So that would be your y-intercept and your slope. Does that help make sense of that? Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Charlotte Ann, give me just a second to try to pull the worksheet back up, okay? Okay, so for number 23, you're supposed to identify the x and y intercepts of the line and then use the intercepts to write an equation of the line, okay? So on this, your x-intercept is going to be here, and your y-intercept is going to be here. So you would have to say the x-intercept is what value? Yeah, -1, that's right. And then what's your y-intercept? 2, yes. Okay. So then, oh, hold on. Give me just a second. It's acting crazy again. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so you have your x-intercept of -1 and your y-intercept is 2. And now, so you know that your b is 2, right? So now you can figure out, you can see that your slope is 2 over 1. So if your slope is 2, then you're going to have y equals 2x plus 2. Okay, Madison, number 31. So what you're going to need to do for that is work this equation around so that you get it in y equals mx plus b form, okay? So you're going to start out here, 2y plus 1 equals 3x plus 5. So we really need to get the y by itself, okay? So we'll bring this 1 over here, this 1. So since we're adding 1, we'll subtract 1. So that will give us 2y equals 3x plus 5 minus 1 is going to be 4, okay? So 3x plus 4. And now we need to bring this 2 over so that we can get y by itself. So we're multiplying by 2 there, so we'll divide everything by 2, okay? So those 2's cancel. So then you're going to end up with y equals 3/2 x plus 2, because 3 divided by 2 is 3/2, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2. So now this equation looks much easier to graph. So we know 2 is our y-intercept, right? So we would put a dot up here and then use our slope of 3/2 to say that we go up 3. So we go up 1, 2, 3, and over 2. So our point would be like up here somewhere. And then we could go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 2. So our other point would be here. And then we could just connect those dots. Did that not broadcast that whole time? Ugh. Do you want to see it, or did you understand it without it showing? Okay, here, let me try again. Okay. All right. So here's what we did. We took the equation up here. Let me change the color of my pen. Okay, so we took the equation and went up here with it, and we started in this form, okay? 2y plus 1 equals 3x plus 5. And we need to get y by itself so that we can have our equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So to do that, we're going to start by moving this 1 over, okay? So since we have plus 1, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So that's going to leave us here with this 2y equals 3x plus 4, because it's a negative 5, or sorry, it's a plus 5 and a minus 1. So now we still need to get y by itself, so we're going to have to divide by 2. So divide this side by 2 and then divide this side by 2. Those 2's cancel, and you end up with 3 divided by 2 plus, or sorry, 3x divided by 2, which is this term here, and then 4 divided by 2, which gives you the 2 here, okay? So your equation is y equals 3 halves x plus 2. So now 2 is your y-intercept, so you can plot that here. And then your slope is 3 over 2. So that's rise 3, so go up 3, and then over 2. So up 3 and then over 2. So your point would be there. And then you can also take that and go down 3 and over 2. And then connect those dots, okay? And that gives you your line. Did that help? Okay, good. So when I'm doing these math labs and I'm actually writing and showing the work that I'm writing, I can't see the screen that has you guys chat on there. So when you're typing in the comments, I'm not able to see anything when I'm over there. So I didn't even realize it wasn't broadcasting. So if something like that happens again, when you guys turn your mic on and say, hey, wait, we don't see anything, okay? Okay, Charlotte Ann, for 27, you're going to do the same type of thing there. You need to work that equation so that it's in y equals mx plus b form. And then it will be in a form that you can graph. So Madison, let me work with Charlotte Ann and then I'll get to number 8, okay? Hold on just a second. So Charlotte Ann, on 27, you need to get this into y equals mx plus b form. So basically you just need to move this over here and that will have your y equals mx plus b. So since you have a plus 3x there, you're going to subtract 3x from both sides to move it over. So you're going to have y equals negative 3x plus 2. And then that you can graph. Does that make sense? You don't have to figure an x out on that one. You just are supposed to graph the equation. So you have your y equals mx plus b. Your b is your y-intercept, so you put a point there, okay, at 2. And then you use your slope, which is 3 or negative 3, and you graph that. Okay, so Madison, number 8. So on number 8, you're supposed to write an equation of the line shown. So in order to write your equation, you need to know your slope and your y-intercept. So we can calculate the slope on this by saying 2 minus a minus 2, right, which is 2 plus 2, because that's your y2 minus y1, over x2, which is 2, minus x1. So again, 2 minus a minus 2, so 2 plus 2. So your slope equals 4 over 4, which equals 1. And then your intercept is here at 0, 0. So when you plug that in, y equals 1x plus 0. 1 is your slope, okay? And 0 is your y-intercept or your b. That's just going to work out into y equals x. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Yeah, Isabel. So for number 14, 14 is one that you kind of don't have to do that. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. But we can use it, okay? Let me see if this will work to flip. Okay, so your point is, hold on. Your point is 0, 2, and your slope is 3. So your formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x sub 1, okay? So on this one, these two are going to stay, well, that messed that up. Those two values, the y and the x, are going to stay as a y and an x. You're going to take the point and plug in for the y1 and the x1, okay? So you're going to have y minus y1, which is 2, okay, right here, equals m, which is 3, and then parentheses times x, that x stays as an x, minus x1, which is 0, okay? And then, so we're going to distribute this in like this, okay? So 3 times x would be 3x, and 3 times 0 is 0. So you're going to have nothing over there, okay? Equals y minus 2. And now we need to get y by itself. So we'll bring this minus 2 over. So we'll have y equals 3x plus 2, okay?
Miss Smith?
Now,
it's showing on the screen.
It's not showing anything again? Dang it. Okay. Here we go. Is it there now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here, I'll explain it again now that you can see what I'm doing. You have your point here. Your point here is 0, 2, and your slope is 3. So your equation we're going to use is this. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. The y value here and the x value here, those stay just as y and x when you plug in. The ones that you actually plug from your point are going to be in the y1 and the x1, okay? So this just pulls down as y minus y1 is going to be 2 because it comes from up here, equals m, it tells you is 3, so it's going to be 3, and then the parentheses are important, times x, that x stays, okay, minus x1. So that's going to be a minus 0, all right? So now we have to distribute this 3 in here because of the parentheses. So 3 times x gives you 3x, okay? 3 times 0 is 0. So you're not going to have anything here for that part. And then y minus 2 over here. So now we need to get y by itself. So since we're subtracting 2, we're going to add 2 to both sides. So that's where this plus 2 comes from. Okay, so now our equation is y equals 3x plus 2. Does that help? Okay, Ethan, on that one, so that's one that you really kind of don't need to do that formula on, because this point is your y-intercept, so that is your b. So that tells you that b equals 2, m equals 3. So when you do y equals mx plus b, you just plug in like this, okay? So you'd have y equals 3x plus 2. So that one you didn't totally need to show work, but that would be the process of doing it if it was another point that was there. Okay, Isabel, let me try to cast this. Okay, so on that one, you're supposed to write the equation of a line that passes through a point and is parallel to the line with the given equation. So basically, we can use that equation that they give us to find the slope that we need. And if we're writing an equation that's parallel, then we need to have the same slope, right? So for number 17, the point that we have to pass through is 1, 3, okay? And your equation of your line is y equals 2x minus 2. So your slope here is 2, and we want the lines to be parallel. So our new slope also has to equal 2. So we can use this y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, okay? So for that, we're going to have y minus 3 equals our m, which is 2, times x minus 1, okay? And you see we get the 3 here and the 1 from here, okay? And then we get the 2 from here. So now we have to distribute this in here, distribute the 2 in. So we're going to have 2x, because 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, y minus 3. We need to get y by itself, so we need to bring this 3 over. So since we're subtracting 3 there, we'll add 3 to both sides. So we'll have y equals 2x, and we have minus 2 plus 3, so that's going to be plus 1. So that would be your equation. Does that make sense, Isabel? Okay, good. Now, you guys, if you had a problem like that and it gave you a point and the equation of a line, and you had to write the equation of a line that was perpendicular to that one, then you would say, okay, my slope on the line is 2. I need to write a perpendicular line, so my slope of that line is going to be negative 1/2, because you're going to flip it and make it opposite, the opposite reciprocal. So then you would follow those same steps, except instead of 2, you would use negative 1/2. Madison, number 21, you'll handle in a similar manner to the one that I just did, except you'll use the perpendicular slope. So if you have your point is 3, -2, and your equation of your line is y equals -1/3 x minus 3. So you need to write the equation of a line that passes through this point and is perpendicular, okay? So your slope here is -1/3. So to use a perpendicular slope for that, we're going to have to flip this, okay? And then do the opposite sign. So a perpendicular slope for that would equal 3. Because if we flip it, it's going to be 3/1, and make the opposite sign, it will be positive. So now we can plug into this formula. Okay, so you'll have y minus y1. So since it's minus y1 in the formula, and your point is a -2, it's going to be y minus a -2, which turns into y plus 2, okay? Equals m, which is 3, because we're finding the perpendicular line, 3 times x minus x of 1, which is 3, okay? So now you just solve that through. Distribute this in here and get 3x minus 9. And since you have plus 2 over here, you're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So you're going to have y equals 3x minus 9 minus 2 is going to be minus 11. You're welcome.